The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with the Educational and Radio Center and the Girl Scouts of the USA, presents Adventuring in the Hand Arts with Shari Lewis. This program, Dolls, Puppets, and Diversion. Our special guest, Ascanio Spolidoro. Our guide in adventuring, television star Shari Lewis.
Hi. Hello, Cindy. That's Cinderella. Are you shaking your head no? Isn't she a beautiful puppet? I love her. Of course, some of my best friends are puppets. Yeah. You too? You know, I think there's a little bit of the puppet in all of us, don't you? The thing I like so much about him is a puppet can be anything you want it to be. It can be make-believe. It can be fantastic, like the big nose fellow over here. Or it can be real. A real good friend to you, too. It all depends upon what you want out of your puppet. Of course, to some small extent, it depends upon what you put into your puppet. You can make a puppet out of anything. Anything. Even, an old sock. Yeah. I call this fellow Socrates. And this shows you that it's as easy to make a puppet as 1, 2, 3.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Like you to meet a friend of mine.
A friend?
Mm-hmm.
Well, where's your friend?
Right over here. Hi. And I thought my riders were bad. Say, who's your friend?
You better ask me.
Why?
Because that's my friend.
Oh. Really?
Yes. I would like you to meet Mr. Spolidoro. Mr. Spolidoro is the head of the Marionette Theater for the Department of Parks of the City of New York. What did you make your puppet out of?
Pieces of cloth, red rags and everything. Piece of lace. Here's an old collar.
Uh-huh.
So, waist.
What's this?
Stuffed head.
With a tube.
With a tube, paper tube.
Well, now, this is a 3-fingered puppet.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
This is a standard 3-fingered puppet. In other words, your finger becomes the head, and these 2 fingers become the hands. Now,
the body, the hand becomes the body.
And this is the waist.
And that's the waist. And this is the rest of it, you see.
Well, now, people always ask me, what is the difference between a puppet and a marionette and a rod puppet and a shadow puppet and a dummy and a finger puppet?
Well, it's a little complicated to go into all of that, so we just say now for easy terms is that the one that slips over your hand is a puppet.
Well,
the one hanging on strings is different.
You know what I always like to say, though? I always like to think that they're all puppets because puppet, the word comes from the Italian word for doll.
Pupa.
Pupa.
Pupa pupazzi.
What's pupa pupazzi?
Oh, more stuffed than the pupa. It's really stuffed, the pupazzi.
A fat puppet?
Well, it can be anything. It's dumber than... The pupa is a little sharper, but the pupazzi is just absolutely idiotic.
Oh, like the buffalo.
A buffoon, you say.
Ah. Well, they're all puppets. But if your hand goes into it like this, or perhaps like that, or like that, or even like that, you know, if you have a dragon puppet, if your hand goes into it, it's a hand puppet, right?
Yes, you could put a dragon on, you see, and, you know, and then the whole arm comes into moving.
Yours looks like a snake.
Yes, you do. Dragons, you know, wow, you know.
Well, what about if your hand isn't in it? For example, this one. Now, what would you call that?
Well, that could be, you see, it could be on the style of a hand puppet, too, but this is more for the
ventriloquist.
Yes, ventriloquist.
How is everything?
It's all right.
It's all right. Good. I'm glad. And this is the old-fashioned kind of ventriloquial dummy with a hard head. This, of course, is a different one. Let me show you. This I like. You don't see too much of it. It's another version of the hand puppet. I call it a finger puppet. And he's wearing red boots.
You know why you don't see much of that?
Why?
Because people don't handle their fingers properly, you know.
Hey, little fellow who walks. Mister, excuse me, but you're sitting on a friend of mine.
Hank, you know.
You see, you're sitting on the controls for a marionette. This is a string puppet with airplane controls, right?
The airplane control came from Germany.
What does this work?
This is the foot bar.
Stand him up,
And
Spaulding.
standing up, and here we are.
Stand her up. I beg your pardon. It's a Girl
Stand
Scout.
her,
How do you
indeed.
do?
Why, how do you do?
How do you do?
Salute.
Whoop! I beg your pardon. Very happy to meet
Indeed.
you. You know, I think I could pull strings and introduce you to some more Girl Scouts. Would you like that?
All right.
All right, you sit down right over there.
We're here.
Yes, right there.
All
You
right.
sit down. And we're going to
Have
go
a
visit
seat.
with the other Girl Scouts. They've been working on puppets of all sorts. Come on, take a look. Julie over here is having a great deal of trouble. What's the matter, Sue?
Can't you get it on?
What are you making?
Yes. I'm making a princess.
Let me see. What did you start with first of all?
This?
What is it, just a piece of cloth?
Yes.
You have a finger poking up? Let me see. Oh, that's a skinny little finger. There. Now, what's going to be the head?
I'm going to put this on as a head.
What is that?
That's a rubber ball with a hole in it.
And some thumbtacks.
Tacks for eyes and nose.
No mouth. She's not going to have any back talk.
Oh, that's a small mouth.
Oh, is it?
It's so small you
I
can't
beg
see
your
it.
pardon. We're going to put some
Well,
hair
watch
on?
the pin doesn't stick in the finger.
Okay, there. How should we put the hair, like that?
That's right.
Let's hold it like this.
Now, put the hat on. That should hold it.
Now, what is your hat, Julie?
It's a horn.
Uh-huh.
One of those little trumpets you get at
Yeah.
parties, huh?
Well, you know, a puppet can be made out of things around the house, as Julie has, or it can be made out of things
Yeah,
that
where'd
are
you put this on?
specifically cut and prepared for a puppet. Poor Franny here is working on a hard one. I think marionettes are hard, don't you?
Not necessarily.
Well,
They can be hard and they can be very easy. Now, this is one of the most simplified manner to make a marionette, you see, using thumbtacks, little pieces of
and in order tape.
tape.
And in order to get the articulation or
Yeah.
the movement, she's put the
Like
skinny
that.
pieces of tape between the fat pieces of wood so that if there were a string over here, what would it do?
Mm-hmm.
It would bend and
Would
go up
bend,
like that. Now, what's the next stage after you've put one more arm on? What would you do next?
Then you dress it.
Ah, well, that's what Kara's doing over here.
This is right here.
You've made a clown. He's
that's
cute.
Very
I'm finishing up the
interesting.
eye right now.
What are you fastening
Right.
it on with?
Glue, cement.
Uh-huh. All right, you've got it gloppy enough.
Yeah.
Now, when you stick the eye on, there.
Yeah.
Your clown is pretty well finished, isn't he?
He is.
And just, will you hold him, Kara? And just beautifully dressed. Now, Spaulding, how many strings do you put on a marionette?
Well, usually a marionette would have about 8 strings.
Where would you put them? Do you have any
Where?
idea, Kara?
Well, mainly on the feet, the arms, and these two holes, and the rear and the shoulders.
You'd put one on his bottom, huh?
Yes.
Actually, the one on the bottom is very important because that's the one that enables him to go like
Bow.
Bowing.
That's
bow
it.
down. I like that. This is an example of the most modern puppet made right before your very eyes. And this is something so ancient and so old and beautiful. These are shadow puppets.
Shadow
Where's
puppets.
this one from, Spaulding?
I believe that's Burma. Is it?
No, I think it's Bali.
Yes, it is
Bali.
Bali.
Yeah.
It is Bali.
And this is a little Balinese man
Mhm.
who's climbing up a tree to chop down a coconut. Of course, these don't work like this. They work behind screens. This is a Chinese one.
This is the Chinese one.
Is this
Do you
from
know
that
much
story?
about them?
This one, I think, is part of an epic cycle, a collection of stories about the goddess of mercy. And because there are so many characters in this story, these puppets are made with heads that come off. She loses her head. Not really. What happens is they change the heads of the puppet
That's right.
to suit the various characters. You see, this goddess of mercy was a princess, and she refused to marry, and so her father had her killed. And she was good and sweet, but she went to the underworld, where she met monsters like this and like this. Is that a monster over there?
It's a monster there.
Boy, that's a demon. And down there, she purified and sanctified the underworld and made everything. And made everything all right again. And these are all the characters from that story. What about this one?
Well, this is Javanese. Aren't they beautiful?
Absolutely. From Java?
Yeah.
We've seen these in hand. Can we see them behind a screen?
Oh, that's the
One
place
thing I
to
don't
see
understand.
them.
These are shadow puppets. They're beautifully colored, and yet we work them in silhouette behind a screen. Spaulding, why don't they just work them out in front?
Well, because the women were, being that they are religious puppets, you see, the women should not look at the colors. They were forbidden to see the coloring.
I like that. Can you-
And all the women sat on one side and saw the shadows, and the men sat on the other side seeing the colors. But I like the shadows
That's not
best,
very
don't
fair.
you?
Can you make her dance?
Da, 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 you see, their movements is limited to this and the hands. You see, they dramatize things, you know.
Can you make her turn around?
Sure.
Da-dum, da-dum.
And they go the other way.
Here's another kind of shadow puppet. This one I like. Look like a rooster? You know what somebody told me before? They said it looked like my hands were folded like this. Of course they were.
Here's a Chinese one. See
Oh,
the
that's
color
a
in
beautiful
that?
one.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. Look at the movement. Oh, well, that one had movement
Yeah.
right down at the bottom.
Yeah, I'll show you more movement.
So that his hip could move.
He's got his hand caught, but it's all right.
Oh, there you go.
There we are.
Now, this is an example of one of the oldest kinds of puppetry. And here we have the utmost in modernity in puppets. This is one made by Spoldi. Of what?
Lucite.
Lucite.
Plastic.
This is a puppet that was a failure and a success at the same time. Very hard to make. And
Yes.
yet it never turned out very well because this face doesn't picks up too much light, I think, Spoldi.
Well, it picks up all the shadows, actually. It picks up the dark light that we have about us. You know, it doesn't pick up the brightness of it.
But it's just about the only lucite puppet I've ever seen. Spoldi, what play is this from?
And that's from the blue-haired fairy from Pinocchio.
Ah, well, here's
You
a
see?
Here's a story that paid off very well, although the blue-haired fairy never did. This is the story of Cinderella, and do you know who she is? That's the wicked stepmother. You made her much too pretty.
Well, she is cruel inside, not outside. You see, and the two sisters, Cinderella's sisters, they're also very beautiful because we mustn't associate ugliness with a bad heart. You see, not a bad heart, I mean wickedness.
In other words, you made them beautiful even though they were ugly.
Yes, they were ugly. Ugly inside, you see. Beautiful outside, ugly inside, you see. Because in other words, you can't have children say that an ugly person is wicked.
I think that's a
see?
wonderful idea. I've always objected to that in fairy stories. Here's an absolutely innocent little fellow. This is one of the pages. A sweet little bottom to him. Ta-da! Isn't that sweet? And, of course, here's the regal beauty herself, Cinderella.
Cinderella.
And this is another little page holding the glass slipper. And we'll turn the page and turn to another story, shall we? This is the story of Alice
In Wonderland.
in Wonderland.
The Queen of Hearts.
Boy, those tarts she made must have been awfully sour, judging by the face.
Oh, she was a sour one. That is the
Mad
portion
Hatter.
of the Mad Hatter.
I'd be mad if I had to wear a hat like that, too.
That's the messenger,
The frog messenger.
the frog footman.
Spaldy, I should think costuming these puppets would be almost the hardest part.
It is very hard.
Really?
Yes, it is very hard because you have to keep the puppet nimble, and you have to use your materials properly, and you have to pick the proper material for the proper atmosphere or costume or rather character that you're trying to depict.
Well, what is she going
This
to
one
be?
going to be the blue-haired fairy now.
Give her
You see.
sleeves.
She'll have sleeves, yes. So, for instance, we take by taking the material, see, we don't use it on the cross grain. We use it on the bias.
They give you
and,
some pins.
you see, so that when she walks about, it'll flow. You
Well,
know?
now, in other words, you don't do what a dressmaker does. You don't make a whole dress and then put it on the puppet.
No, it's done piecemeal. You see, each little piece has to conform to an outline. You see how graceful that flows now.
Uh-huh.
You see. And in using these pieces over here, for instance, they have to be used in a certain manner on the bias. You see, if you want to do more
To make
of
a
this,
flowing
you see, to make
train.
it very flowing, you see.
Now, what would you do on the head of
The
a
head
puppet?
now, blue hair, we'll get nylon blue hair,
Uh-huh.
and then a crown.
What kind of crown?
Oh, maybe out of lucite with jewels
Let
in
me
it,
see,
you know.
let me see.
But this one now are the regal crowns. For instance, here's one for the king.
Well, let's see
You
how
see.
she looks in a king's crown.
Well,
Top-heavy, that's how
top
she looks.
heavy. This would look a little better for her.
That's a tiara. You
Tiara.
like that, Baldy?
And here's another one. They usually go in for this kind of thing. Fairies do, you know.
You know what I like?
Mm-hmm.
Spaldy saves all the jewelry that people throw away and keeps them in drawers. A wonderful idea. You make your own rainy day box.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you need something, you have it
Needs
right
to
at
go
your
in there,
fingertips.
yeah. Two boys were talking about it, and they said, oh, those aren't real diamonds. Says, no, they don't use diamonds here.
No, never. We've seen a naked puppet, and we've seen a dressed puppet. We've never seen a puppet in action. Not really a marionette.
I'll show you one.
Will you climb the bridge?
Yeah.
Marionettes work from a bridge, from up above, while the manipulator works the puppets down below. The original marionettes, or rather the first real use of marionettes, was by the French monks, who used to do the story of the Nativity with little articulated dolls that were strung for movement. And these little Marys were called marionettes. It's logical. Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Pinocchio, get up.
No.
Get up.
No, I want to get up.
Please get up. I want you to meet somebody.
Huh? Who?
Come on, stand up on your feet.
Now, who are you?
How do you do? My name is Shari.
Oh, Sarah. Hello. Hello.
Hello. I'm very happy to meet you.
Glad to know you too.
Do you have a long nose?
Haven't you?
Yes,
Oh,
but that's not very polite of you. Pinocchio, I want you to meet some friends of mine.
Yeah, where?
Yeah. No. Oh, around this way. Just follow your nose.
Way.
No.
I'm following my nose.
Okay, now, right, look. Right.
Oh.
There.
Oh, look, friend.
Yes, would you like to take a bow and say how do you do?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. How do you do?
Very
Okay.
nicely done. That was nice.
Uh-huh.
I want to tell you a secret. Come here.
Wow.
Would you like to dance with me?
I know. I'm bashful.
Spaldy, he doesn't want to dance.
Pinocchio, dance. You know what happens? Hammers.
Please, Pinocchio. Spaldy, could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why did you make the costume out of newspaper?
Well, because his original costume was made of wallpaper. And we don't associate wallpaper very easily as we do newspaper.
In other words, Geppetto was supposed to have been so poor.
He was so poor that he couldn't afford to give him a suit, so he did it with wallpaper.
That's very sad. Will you dance with me now?
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Brother, come and dance with me. Both my hands I offer thee. Right foot first, left foot then. Round about and back again.
Now?
Now.
Oh, back again.
That was very nice. Thank you. You sit down right over there.
All right. Wait till I get my feet.
Oh,
there.
right. Good. Well, that's one kind of puppet. And darling when worked by an expert. Here's another kind, frankly my favorite. I love hand puppets. I love them because your hand is right inside them. Their life is truly in your hands. And this is an example of one of the oldest and most traditional forms of hand puppetry. This is Punch. Punch exists, in almost every European country. In Italy, it's called Punch. In Italy, it's called Punchinello. In England, it's called Punch. In Germany, it's called Casper. In Russia, Kukla. But all of them have approximately the same characters. Judy, the baby, a devil. They all have to have a dragon. Perhaps he looks a bit familiar to you. One of our very best puppets is a fellow who looks something like this. You know what I mean? But throughout the world, it's Punch who adds punch to the puppet plays. But Punch and Judy plays are traditional. Same story, almost all the time. Same characters, almost all the time. Not really too much creativity there. I think we here in America have extended puppetry in every direction. I have some puppet friends who want to dance for you. Are you ready, boys?
Ready?
Good.
My turn. Hello, dummy. Don't dummy. going up? And I said, no, that's right underneath the elevator. What's your name, dummy? Hey, dummy. It's broke.
It's not broke.
Broken.
No, it's not broken.
It doesn't talk.
What doesn't talk?
It's a dummy.
It's not a dummy.
It's a puppet.
It's not a puppet.
The Mario what-you-call-it.
Not a Mario what-you-call-it.
What is it?
It's a doll.
Oh. Oh, you doll. What's the difference between a doll and a puppet?
It's a good question. As a matter of fact, it's a question that people ask me all the time.
What do you tell them?
I'll let Spaulding tell you.
Boy,
Mhm.
what's the difference between a doll and a puppet?
Well, usually a doll doesn't move, has no moving parts, you know.
It
But
moves
today,
if you push it.
yes, but that's not the kind. You see, he must have arms that move, legs that move. Today we have ever so many kind of dolls that do actually move, but they are still dolls, and they have to be either put on the hand, as we said before, or suspended on strings in order to become a puppet or a marionette.
In other words, it's not really a puppet unless you can bring it to life.
Oh, what's this?
Well, that's a doll from Nigeria.
Oh, what kind of a doll?
A very interesting doll. Take a look at it. This particular tribe in Nigeria makes dolls. This, for example, was one of a pair of twins. One of the twins died, and they made a doll to represent the other twin.
Now what did they do?
They fed it, they clothed it, they put it to bed whenever they did those things for the living twin.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
That's quite extraordinary. Only this tribe does it, not just generally. Take a
No.
look at this one.
Oop.
Steady there, boy. He's horning in.
No, he's not horning in.
Is this the way the people of that tribe look?
No, not really, dear.
Well, then how come he looks like that?
Well, this is a kachina doll.
A kachina doll?
Uh-huh.
What does that mean?
Well, this is made by the Hopi Indians.
Did they look like this, I hope?
No, they didn't look like this, I hope. They used to wear masks like this when they wanted to communicate with the spirits, because they felt that when they put on this kind of a mask, they became
Mhm.
a spirit.
Really?
Yes.
Could I put a mask like that on?
You want to see a mask like that?
Uh-huh.
Do we
All
have one,
right,
Spaulding?
we certainly have. Right over here, Lamb Chop. There's one right there that's worn over the head of a human being. That's not a doll, but it's a mask that goes under the heading of a mask. Over here now is a larger doll, a larger kachina doll, and this is a sort of a fan-like business. You see, each one has a little design on it, and it's quite elaborate in color. Over here.
I wonder what that's supposed to be. It looks like a cowboy.
Well, that's another one of those masks.
Sometimes you can tell very clearly what the spirits are. There was one that...
Mm.
He's a funny one. Looks like a rag doll.
And this one
This,
being
incidentally, is
carved.
an Indian carving cottonwood,
Mhm.
which is something like poplar, a very soft wood, and he's carving out a kachina doll.
Yeah.
And interestingly
Kachina.
enough, now they work with very modern tools. He's sanding here.
Smoothing it out.
At one time, they sanded with something called a sandstone, which was apparently an abrasive stone, which took the part of
Which is very
sandpaper.
good. Yeah.
These are very traditional. Each one represents a specific spirit. You know, it's not as if the Indian, the Hopi, can make anything he wants. He has to make it look like a particular traditional spirit.
There goes the painting. Very interesting, isn't it? You just do it. Feathers.
Sometimes these kachinas are in the form of headdresses instead of masks.
Well, the one we just saw, sunburst, you see, representing a sunburst.
Ah, this is one of the headdresses.
Oh, yes, with the
Worn
butterfly
in the
it.
interest of the kachina spirit,
Mhm.
too. variations on a theme.
Uh-huh.
Here we have the ball puppet, taken many different ways. Spaldy, what's this supposed to be?
What does it look like? It's got a red hood. Do you know
Little
what
Red
it
Riding
is?
Hood.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I forgot. And do you know what this one is?
A Raja.
A Raja. What's a Raja? Oh, that's what I thought. A Raja is an Arab king, an Oriental
a ruler,
king.
yes, a ruler of a tribe.
Nice, though. These are all made of scrap materials. A bit of sequins left over from something or other.
This was a little sleeve. Let's see, it was this part of a little sleeve, just put together, and there we are.
It becomes a wonderful cape.
Wonderful cape. This is a pom-pom.
Uh-huh, and there's his face, all pasted onto the very adaptable rubber ball. This one is a cowboy.
This made out of tin foil and some leather. The guns, you know.
Oh, you
tin
shape
foil.
the guns yourself?
Oh, yes, tin foil. Anybody can shape them.
Very cute. What did you do?
I made a little girl.
And what did you use for a hat?
I used one.
Let's let everybody see.
I used a basket that you get from parties.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
That's a good thing to use. Actually, anything becomes a puppet. This is charming. Spaldy made it. We hold it against you so everyone can see. And it could make a very animated puppet, too. You see, it's made from a darning egg with which Mother might darn your socks. And if you just draped a handkerchief over these fingers, it would become a very cute puppet. Want to wave? There. Isn't that sweet? This one could be Little Red Riding Hood, too. How about you, Fran? You made any progress?
Mm-hmm. I finished my frame of my puppet.
Oh, good.
Wonderful.
Now, Spaldy, how would the strings be connected?
Well, you'll have one on each hand.
Why didn't you
Here,
just put one in the center?
Well, it sways around. You see, you have no
Yes,
control of the
that's
head,
true.
you see. Then one on each hand. Then now we can take, this seems to be, no, this is the front, so we go to the back and we have one here in the shoulder blades and one here at the bottom, so that we can have these kind of formations of bowing, of sitting.
Or of dropping his head?
Yes, dropping his head from here and moving the arms.
Now, would
and
you put one
to
at the knee?
Yes, at the knee, too, so they can walk, so.
Would you bother putting it at the very toe?
No, not unless it's needed. Unless you have a little ballerina that you wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
Then you put it at the toe.
I always wonder about the middles. I once had a marionette that had a foam rubber middle, and it wiggled just beautifully.
That's right. You just very loosely use the foam rubber in there.
And you've been dressing them. Oh, nice.
I have a sad
Oh,
clown
look
this
at
time.
Let me see your happy one against my sad one. Or rather, my sad one against your happy... No, that doesn't work either. Isn't that sweet? What is this?
That's the ruffle collar for them.
Uh-huh. And this one would animate just beautifully. And there you have a small taste of a very big subject, puppets. And I want to thank Spolidoro and the Marionette Theater of the Department of Parks of the City of New York for helping us with this, our puppet show. And incidentally, I have found big fathers to be very susceptible to small puppets, and mothers very happy with anything that keeps the entire family together and content. So why don't you make yourself a little puppet? Your friends and your family will just take it to heart, and you'll find that there's a place for you, too, in the world of make-believe. Next week, our adventure will be in wood carving, and our guest will be Chaim Gross. And so until next week, this is Shari and friends saying thank you, goodbye, and God bless you.
Executive producer Malcolm McGregor. Producer George Norford. Director Frank Pacelli. Associate producer Blair Shatsanov. Adventuring in the Hand Arts was produced for the Girl Scouts of the USA and the Educational Television and Radio Center. Artifacts through the courtesy of the American Museum of Natural History. This has been an NBC production. This is National Educational Television.